Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about the Mars in Pisces transit that is going on right now currently, and how I believe it has impacted some recent sports stories and headlines. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the Deflategate. Now, many of you may have heard of it. It's about how there's some allegations made to the New England Patriots of the NFL that they were having footballs underinflated, perhaps to gain an unfair advantage over the opponent. Now, originally, they were talking about many footballs that were supposedly underinflated. Now it seems like it's pretty much one, and then the rest perhaps a very minuscule as far as the I guess you could say the underinflation goes. Now, at that time of the Deflategate, on January 18, 2015, Mars was at 4 degrees Pisces on that day, and also conjunct Neptune in Pisces at 5 degrees. Now, I look at this as maybe perhaps much energy put into deception. Mars also rules athletes. Now, the full details are still obscure and hazy at best. No big shocker being in Pisces. Now, transiting Neptune right now opposes Tom Brady's Mercury, and perhaps that's why Brady may have come off as sounding a little ambiguous, because initially it seemed as if he was vehemently denying any knowledge or involvement regarding this Deflategate thing, and then in a more recent quote he stated something to the effect that we'll let the investigation run its course, and then we'll see what happens as far as the truth coming out. So to me, on that quote, he's not really 100% denying involvement, but I guess we'll see in how this actually plays out. It'll be very interesting. Now, we look at now another thing has happened recently, is that on January 16th, 2015, former NBA player, CBS sports analyst Greg Anthony was arrested for soliciting a prostitute. At this time, Mars was at 3 degrees Pisces. Now, Mars is connected with athletes, and Pisces, in a very negative expression, can be associated with sensationalism. Now, he recently entered a not guilty plea, so we'll see how this plays out. What I thought was interesting about on this date with Greg Anthony is that transiting Mars made a very tight opposition to his natal Jupiter. And a lot of times when this happens, a person can sometimes become a little bit overconfident, a little bit cocky, lack a ability to be judicious, and lack of prudence. This may have given him, maybe this may have made him act a little bit impetuously, perhaps, and I think this may have played a role in what happened with him on this day. Now, it's interesting because he said in one quote that he had something to the effect he acknowledged making a mistake. Now he's entering a not guilty plea, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out as well. I think in a lot of cases, and this is from a non-astrological vantage point, that athletes can often get a feeling of invincibility and feel they're impervious to any kind of repercussions for wrongdoings. And sadly, if this is true, this is obviously going to put a blemish on Greg Anthony as far as his character goes. Now, in another incident involving, which is connected with prostitution. Now, on February 2nd, 2015, NFL Hall of Famer and former NFL player and analyst for NFL Network, Warren Sapp, was terminated by the NFL Network due to a recent to arrest for soliciting prostitution. Now, he admitted to this allegation, but he denies hitting the women. Now, he's currently held, I don't know if he's out yet or not, but at that time he was arrested and held on 2 counts of assault and 1 count for soliciting prostitution. Now, they are both misdemeanors. Now, it's interesting with Warren Sapp. Now, look at these aspects. Transiting Mars in Pisces was at 16 degrees, squaring his moon, Mercury, and Saturn. Now, the square to the moon could indicate, obviously, acrimonious emotional responses, and of course Mars making that transiting Mars making a square to his natal Mercury can indicate possible arguments, squabbles over things that might of not much significance. Apparently there was an argument that took place over the money, the monetary element, so to speak, of the prostitution transactions. So anyway, this is something where it just I think this could very well strongly been connected with Mars and Pisces, and Mars will continue to transit Pisces for some time. I forgot to look at when the transit ends, but it wouldn't surprise me if maybe we might get one more high-profile athlete or former athlete maybe involved in something connected with prostitution, or at least an accusation or an allegation associated with this. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the Mars and Pisces 2015 transit and the impact in the sports world to some degree, at least with the Deflategate and these 2 athletes that I talked about. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about my series pertaining to empty houses in a natal chart. 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.